Hi everyone, welcome to my presentation. So this is quite dark, which is good. So I don't see you, so it's not so scary. So I'm going to try to have some show of hands. So who here in this room has already been on call during their working lives? Nice, nice. So being entirely honest, so I have two goals with this presentation. So the first goal is actually to pay a tribute to everyone that raised their hands, okay? Being on call is really, really hard. You really need to be on call to understand how hard it is, no matter how much books or slides or presentations you'll see. Only when you wake up at 4 a.m. with an incident in production that you're actually going to realize how tough it is. So that's the first goal, to pay a very well-deserved tribute. And the second one is actually to kind of tell you that, like on-call really doesn't need to suck, okay? So it doesn't need to be terrible. It can actually be pretty awesome. By the way, I don't know if I'm going to eat up the time for questions because I have tons of stuff here that I really would love to tell you, but we'll manage as I go. Cool, so this is who I am. Okay, hi, my name is Pedro. For the sake of saving time, let's just assume I'm a good person and carry on with the slide. Cool, so on call. So the main topic of this presentation is on call. So if actually by any chance I'm on the wrong conference and no one has a clue what on call is, I went to the Oxford Dictionary, okay, so kind of the source of truth of English, and the definition is of a person able to be contacted in order to provide a professional service if necessary, but not formally on duty, okay? And even more interesting is that actually they got some sample sentences where you can actually apply the on-call word. So the first sentence is, so these are all from the dictionary, so from my mind. The team is on call 24 hours a day and is trained in resuscitation techniques and how to use life-saving defibrillators. Okay, so I think we all can relate to that, definitely. If you work in a global organization, you might be on call 24 hours a day for troubleshooting or consulting. That sounds just about right. And also, you have to get up in the middle of the night if you're on call. Yeah, no shit. True. For you to have a good program, on-call program, you just need three things, okay? As easy as that. So first of all, you need shifts, or how we call it in the UK, rotas, okay? So the guys from Blip also know that. You need people, okay? Or how I like to call them, heroes. Okay, this is my poor attempt of the Batman logo. And you also need systems, okay? You need to watch after something. I usually like to call them the critical ones because no one deserves to be waking up in the middle of the night just for some random stuff that can wait for the following day. Why? Why do we need to have an on-call program? Pretty much because of 5 things, okay? First of all, because you care about your customers, okay? They deserve that. You care about your production systems. You care about your engineers, so they deserve something structured that they can actually work with. You care about your company. And last but not least, in a bit of a selfish way, we also care about our jobs, right? Because if something happens in the middle of the night and no one fixes it, well, on the next day, we are all on LinkedIn for sure. So now, I'm going to tell you pretty much the story of the on-call program. I like computer games. I'm quite confident that some of you like them too. I don't know, does anyone here is as old as me and played the first version of Age of Empires? Yes, nice, lovely, thank you so much. So I kind of, I was searching for something that could actually fit nicely into this presentation. Age of Empires made total sense, so just bear with me on that. So let's play a game. First of all, and this is crucial for the presentation, so let's not skip this step. All of us, we need to choose a civilization, okay? So this will be the first step of the game. So think to yourself, you don't need to share it with anyone. Keep it a secret in your mind. Choose your civilization because this is going to change the entire presentation as we go, okay? And I already chose mine, cool. So let's start with the Stone Age, okay? Let's start with the Stone Age. And this is a very low resolution of a building that was called, does anyone remember the name of this building? Yes, absolutely. And how much would the town center cost? That's a hard one. 200 wood, okay? So we grab our guy from the village, we grab the wood, we had a town center. This is like the most important building of the game. We can't lose this stuff, okay? And for us, the Stone Age was pretty much the very beginning of the on-call program. So yes, it was this simple. We were all on call, okay? Even the CEO would help if necessary. So we didn't have any sort of structure whatsoever. Again, it was in the Stone Age. So to be entirely honest, we didn't have that much customers, so it was not that, that necessary anyway, because the company is quite young. And yes, and that was pretty much it, okay? So we didn't have anything in place whatsoever. To be honest, I don't believe that we actually realized that we need something like this. And then the tool age. Okay, so now the Ton Center looks much cooler, so we have some stones, but I believe it's a well, I don't know, and some pretty cool urns. And for the tool age, okay, we had, now we had a little bit more structure and a little bit more kind of decency. So we had an operations team that we actually called them DevOps team, okay, like a huge anti-pattern, I know. We had DevOps engineers that were on call. Not all of them, okay, but some of them were actually on call looking after the systems. We only had 2 in the entire company that were looking after that, okay? So as you can imagine, this was a voluntary program. It was not compulsory. And they were working on 3 days rotas, okay? That was pretty much what was. And we changed that to something much more reasonable that I'll tell you later. And then actually a very interesting thing that usually happens with startups is, at startups, usually young people work there, right? So millennials and that sort of stuff, or the next generation, don't ask me the name. And usually everybody's kind of playing games online, okay? So that was actually quite good for us because every time we had an incident or so, hey, can you actually stop playing League of Legends and help out, okay? So we actually had always people on Slack at, let's say, midnight or 1 a.m. just for the sake of it, and actually it was quite handy, to be honest. We went for VictorOps in terms of our application, okay, the provider that would help us on the other mystics. I don't know exactly the reasons behind that, okay? So when I arrived, it was already chosen. I know that we took a look to PagerDuty and to OpsGenie too. VictorOps is quite cheap, it's affordable, it just works, so at least for now, we are happy with the solution. And yes, we had tons of alarms. So we had like an alarm festival throughout the day. So we had tons of false positives, okay? And usually the big problem that you have with false positives is the broken Windows theory. Okay, so if you don't know what that is, you can actually check online. But pretty much is, if no one cares, why should I care? If you see more alarms, another alarm, who's counting? Okay, and that's usually a huge problem. So we didn't even track the MTTA, okay? MTTA means time to acknowledge, okay? Every time I actually kind of answer a page, but hey, if I'm kind of receiving 100 per day, who cares? Our MTTR was over 9,000, so it was huge. This is an expression, so don't worry. And yes, and all systems were on call. And why is that? Because we were naive, and we went to the stakeholder and say, hey, so tell us what are the most important systems to use so that we can actually kind of create a rota about that. Oh, all systems are important. Damn, sucks to be us. We didn't have any sort of compensation back then, okay? So it was just kind of, tell me how many pets in the back you want. Now, I'll throw one more to you. So it was what it was. So yes, these 2. So we actually had alarms in staging environments. So yeah, no wonder it actually led to fatigue, to burnout. It was not easy, okay? Eventually to churn. So some people just kind of left and they were tired. But at least we had blameless postmortems. Yes, we did something right. We had it for production incidents and production events. So the big difference is the production incident, at least for us, impacts the customer. Production event is just like a WTF, but actually no customer understood that happened, okay? Which is cool. So not so cool stats from back then. So those were the alarms that were triggered. Days with the alarms triggered throughout the entire year, almost every day, but that was not that bad. Our MTTA was more than 7 minutes. So this was actually the moment that I say, hey, I'm going to look into the incident. MTTR, 17 minutes. We wrote 75 PMs, and we got a decent uptime, I guess. Okay. Bronze Age, see? Now the talk is changing, taking into consideration the civilization that you chose. Okay, so I'm seeing mine over there, so keep track of yours. So for the Bronze Age, so this was actually when I kind of jumped in and tried to change things a little bit. We evaluated 3 different scenarios, okay? So primary, secondary, just primary, and primary with someone from SRE helping out. SRE started covering their own rota, okay? So as you can understand, we rebranded the ops team to SRE, okay? Because, ops team sounds really, really sysadmin-like. Nothing wrong with sysadmins, but definitely you deserve something much more automated. Let's call it that way. The development team started having rotas, so this was something huge for us, okay? So people were not kind of that willing to experiment, but, with a lot of persistence and a very interesting showcase, actually people understood. So we kind of have the dog footing because, let's face it, it's really, really easy to develop something, but it's really, really hard to maintain it. And it will change the way that you think as soon as you start maintaining it in production. So we went for 1 engineer per rota, okay? And yes, so the engineers were on call, okay? So software engineers, they don't develop just software. We, back then, had more than 20 engineers on call, so that was huge, from 2 to 20. So that was actually quite interesting. And we just made things very, very minimalist. So, instead of kind of having a computer or a cell phone for you to get called or so, you just had like one hotspot. If you had any problems, you have the app, you're ready to go. So we went for 1 week rotas, okay? So we dropped the 3 days, because if you think about it, 3 days is super unfair. Why? Because if you're switching with someone every 3 days, someone will grab the weekend, and that's terrible and painful, and you're going to lose a lot of family time. If it is 1 week, pretty much everyone will suffer the same, okay? Obviously, you have the national holidays and all that sort of stuff, but that's how it is. And we actually decided that our rotas should start and end matching the beginning of the sprints. Back then, it was on Tuesdays. Don't ask me why, or I can tell you about that later. I don't agree with that, to be honest, but it was what we had back then. Oh, sorry, I jumped one. No, I didn't. So only critical systems were covered, okay? So we kind of did a completely different approach. So we defined the systems that we believe that should be on call, and we proposed to the stakeholders accepted, so we got that one right. And we also created on-call playbooks. So on-call playbooks, I don't know how familiar you are with those, but these are pretty much crucial, okay? This is like one of the very first steps that you really need to do in order to have a decent on-call program, because if you wake up at 4 a.m., you're sleepy, probably, grumpy and all of that. If you don't have an easy playbook that you just can, follow and help you on the triage of the situation, you're into trouble. And trust me, you're not going to be super lucid to make the best decisions ever. So having playbooks in place is something that is like a must-have pretty much from day one, okay? We also created a role called the incident commander, okay? So this is taken from Google SRE book, if I'm not mistaken. But pretty much every time we have an incident, someone really needs to to coordinate stuff. We don't need to have like 2 or 3 different people doing the same thing. So we have someone kind of coordinating the entire operation. We had weekly fire drills, okay? So yes, again, so we look to the wheel of misfortune. So we grab a postmortem and we just kind of reproduce it, and we see if the person that would be on call with that playbook and the postmortem, it would make sense if you know exactly how things would go. This is actually good to understand if your people are ready and if your playbooks are still valid, because remember, documentation gets deprecated like this. So yes, we got some compensation defined. Finally, thank God for that. So yes, we paid money and also time off. So every time you wake up in the middle of the night, take the amount of time necessary for you to rest. So you're an adult, so we believe in your best judgment. Take the amount of time necessary. If you want to skip work 3 days because you're tired, I don't care. So yes, we fine-tuned alarms. So we defined that the time to acknowledge should be under 5 minutes, and that was actually quite pessimistic, but it was what it was. We redefined thresholds. We distinguish alarm from notifications. Again, that's super important, right? Because if you're getting paged, you don't want to get paged about something that can wait for the following morning. And yes, and we cleaned up the alarms from non-production environments, so staging was not alerting us anymore. Yay, nice. So just like I mentioned, so it was volunteer-based, so it's not mandatory for you to participate in the on-call program. It's not fair. You have your family, probably your restrictions. We are all very different, so it was purely volunteer. And also very interesting, we actually had engineers that were participating in more than one rota. The only thing that we did was making sure that no one was like 2 weeks in a row on-call, because that's quite unfair. Vacations and all that sort of stuff would be pretty much self-managed. So I'm there just to facilitate and making sure that you can swap the rota with someone else, but at the very end of the day, power to the teams. They will know how to cope with each other and to cover each other when they are away. Also very interesting, we have one thing that we call the Acacius list. And what's that? So back in a couple of years ago, I invited Acacio Cruz. So if you don't know who he is, he actually works at Google. Amazing guy. He's actually one of the co-authors of the book Google SRE, and he mentioned us. We had a meetup with him, and he said, hey, you know what? At Google, we actually have a checklist that you need to run to make sure that you're eligible to be on call. So we said, hey, that's actually a pretty cool idea. We should have that too. So we actually named the list Acacius list. And even today now, no one actually, let's say like 50% of the company doesn't know who Acacio is, but we have the Acacio list. And when you join the program, you would always be shadowing. What this means is you're not actually on call, you get page 2, you jump into the incident, but you're just seeing how things are, to get you more comfortable in the zone and all of that, so that you are actually brave enough then to be on your own. One thing that we discovered back at this age was that we had little time to work on the resiliency of systems. Why? Startup, unicorn, roadmaps, and all of that. So NFRs usually were treated sometimes as a second-class citizen. That definitely needed to change. We also defined the non-call procedure, so updating the company status page and also keeping the organization up to date. Why is that? Because every time there is an incident, everyone's concerned, kind of, okay, so what's happening or not happening? So we had the incident commander every 5 minutes sending like a heartbeat to a channel on Slack. We finally had 24/7 coverage. And one thing that is very important, and that was actually mentioned already today, and I love today because I actually kind of resonated a lot with what was said. Performance reviews were never affected by the participation on the on-call. So for you not being on-call doesn't mean that you're going to have a crappy evaluation. They are pretty much two different separate streams of things. They can't be correlated. And although we have offices in different time zones, yes, we didn't have a follow the sun strategy. We only have software engineers here in Portugal, so everyone is working here doing the coverage, okay? Nevertheless, P0s are all hands on deck, so forget about procedures, about everything. Let's grab everyone that we can, and we actually created a pretty cool panic button on Slack with the Zapier integration. So every time there's a problem, someone actually writes something on Slack, and someone will appear, almost like the light from Batman and Batman coming to save. Not so fancy, but I tried to relate to that. Now some cool stats, okay. So back at that age, we actually reduced the number of alarms triggered. Our MTTA was drastically reduced. Even the MTTR had pretty cool improvements, much more PMs written, improvement on the uptime, so we were definitely on the right track. Iron Age, the last age. So that's where we are today, okay? So take a look for the last time to your fancy town center, because I'm changing the slide. So we decided to create something pretty cool, okay? So just like this presentation has some sort of lousy gamification, we actually decided to do a pretty cool one. And this one here, I actually need to pay a tribute and say thank you to Raul, our CTO, that came up with this idea. Bruno, that is the person that works on our creative team for kind of designing all of this, that you'll see in a couple of seconds. And Sean, that was the person that was actually kind of pushing this forward, and so without them, this definitely wouldn't happen. So what did we do? So we created these posters. We hang them on the wall, let's say on the 2 offices that we have, and people were starting asking, okay, so what's going to happen? So what's this, and what's going on? And say, hey, you need to wait for the date X, and you'll see what's going to happen. And so the Vanguard program was born, okay? And now I'm going to ask the gods of PowerPoint for the video to actually work, okay? So bear with me. Oh, shit. Okay, now we have sound. Thank you for that. Cool, huh? Yeah, so, thank you. So this was pretty much what we came up to the on-call program to, to engage the guys. So now you're kind of playing a game. It actually has seasons and stuff, so this is just crazy. So you start as a ghost, so you're shadowing people. You have the factions that you want to join. So we have Central, Main, we have Platform, and SRE. So we have banners where you have like your name, the rank, and the faction that you're working with. You have like a super cool page where you have like the badges that you already earned throughout the quests. So again, quests, bounties. You have a scoreboard, right? Because obviously we want to compete against each other. We have the rank progresses and all of that. Even Victor Ops deserves a pretty cool new logo. So rewards and stuff. So every time you complete something, we kind of just offer you swag and that sort of stuff. So we went completely crazy with this, trust me. So we are keeping track of everything that is being done. And even our Slack bot now looks way cooler, okay? So yeah, and this was pretty much it. So we kind of say, hey, speak with the Guardian, just kind of trigger more interest, just join the program, because again, if this is voluntary, you really need kind of to entice people. So this is like a photo of the swag, okay? So as soon as you join, you have a pretty cool coffee mug, we have some stickers, you receive these in this super fancy envelope that I've never seen something like this in my entire life. I was like, what the hell? And yeah, so that was pretty much what we were kind of offering. And as soon as you rank up and all of that, you receive new stuff. So it's actually quite cool. So we decided for gamification, and it's actually working quite well for us. And the huge difference that we have from what we do today into the past is actually on-call engineers, during the time they are on call, they participate in the Vanguard's sprint or week, or whatever you want to call it. So they work actually on the resiliency of the system. That was one of the flaws that we understood from the past experience. So yeah, some even more cool stats, really cool stats from this age. So less alarms triggered, less MTTA, so it's easier for us to grab that acknowledge button. MTTR improved even then, and for now we have a very decent uptime, although now with Google and all sort of that, not so much. So I'm pretty cool, happy to actually record this like this, okay? So this is May. I'm not talking about you. Cool. So yes, so I'm just going to throw you a couple of final thoughts. So if you remember, so we were playing Age of Empires, so at the very end, usually it would end something like this, okay? A little bit kind of dark, but it was the game, so blaming the creators. So final thoughts, what I really would love to tell you. So first of all, on-call really doesn't need to suck, okay? So it's just up to you to make sure that things work, that are compelling, and that you know that people really want to join and understand the value of an on-call program. You just need to be fair, honest, and respectful with the people that are actually kind of doing that for you, okay? Because at the very end of the day, although you're paying them to do that, they are doing us a favor, okay? Because I'm pretty sure that everybody likes to sleep at night, and being paged in the middle of the night, sometimes more than once, it's really, really hard. Don't aim for perfection, okay? And don't complicate stuff. You just really need to start if you don't have an on-call program. And remember, this is not just for the other guys, this is for everyone. Google SRE book has like tons of amazing ideas for you to read and to get inspired with on-call. It's really hard to read the book, like for someone like me, I'm not super technical, so it was kind of, but I did it. I have the badge of that, the entire pages. If actually you're feeling lonely when you're on call, I discovered that actually you have an hashtag on Twitter. It's called on-call selfie. So let's say you're feeling just miserable, you take a photo of yourself, put it on Twitter, someone will say, hey man, everything's going to be all right. Okay, actually you can search for that, it's just amazing. Burnout is a real thing, okay? Make sure that you take that seriously. We are not superheroes. Sometimes we are actually really, really bad in understanding how tired we are. So we really need to make sure that we can help each other. Tune those alarms, okay? It's one of the main factors of success. If you have alarms for everything and they are constantly being triggered, trust me, no on-call program will work. And don't make rush decisions because you're getting too many alerts, okay? Like for instance, turn off the alarms and everything is sorted. Take advantage of business hours to sort things out. Remember, it's always harder to be alone solving something. If you have the entire engineering team, it's much easier, okay? Again, that's the wisdom of the crowds working. Being on call doesn't mean that you need to save the world, okay? So we don't need Rambos at all. Don't make risky things, just kind of stick to the playbooks. Don't lose yourself. It's, under stress, no one has brilliant ideas. Trust me, I've been there and I learned that. Don't hesitate to jump into a video call. Just make sure that you're coordinating stuff. Okay, we usually love just to write stuff on Slack or on your communication tool. If you're actually kind of having synchronous communication, it's much efficient. And don't forget to keep the stakeholders on the loop, okay? They are suffering too. We really need to update them, regardless of us being constantly on stress. That was mentioned here. Action items on blameless postmortem should be tracked and ensure that they are executed, otherwise it will be just pretty much pointless. And also, don't fall into the wishful thinking game. We all know that network is not reliable and all that, but it can't be a scapegoat. So for instance, if you have a hiccup and someone says, hey, that's a network issue, be ready to actually prove that that's a network issue. Otherwise, the problem's on the code. You really need to look into that. Always write PMs. We had already a very interesting, almost workshop about writing very cool postmortem. Thank you for that. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Pedro, for the age of on call. Okay, time for questions. Okay, one here.
Yes.
Hi. First of all, thanks for the talk. It was really insightful. So have you ever found people causing incidents on purpose just to rank up?
Not until now. I'm actually going to start doubling watching that. No, so I don't think so. The easiest way to rank up actually is like when you go on quests, and the quest actually to hey, fix this or do that. Usually we don't try to give bonus for incidents, okay? That's why usually, and don't quote me on this, it's always, kind of, it's a debate, should we pay for people for the extra hours that people are on call or not? Some people say, sure, they are working, and some people say, hey, but are we rewarding for the right things? Okay, so that actually kind of applies to that, but hopefully, no. So everyone's like very good soldiers and behaving. So help me God. Any more questions? Yes.
Just one more.
Just one more.
Yeah, just one.
André, make it count, son. No pressure.
Hey, Pedro. Can you give us some insight on what Acasio's list is?
Mm.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's like it has tons of so very trivial stuff. To be entirely honest, I don't know. That sort of thing that as soon as somebody tells them, say, "Huh, how obvious! I wish I had this idea." But pretty much like super trivial things like, do you have all the logins to the systems? Do you know where do you go to grab the secrets for that? So super minimal things, that usually somebody says, oh, let's say during a weekly fire drill, someone say, oh shit, I don't have the access to that environment. Oh, why? Oh, because that was something that was recently added to the Casio list and actually didn't check that. So it's just pretty stuff like that, no kind of secret sauce. It's just, like those like minimal things that you really need to have in order to be at 4 a.m. and say, hey, I have everything that I need to actually sort this out. Access to the playbooks. Have you read the playbooks? No one say, yes, I did, almost like an oath. So it's pretty much that. So it's, again, we trust that the people, they are adults, so they are always with their good intentions. So this list is almost like saying, hey, even for me, that I'm on call, kind of say, like a sanity check, saying, okay, I got myself covered, I have everything that I need, I'm good. So it's pretty much that. Okay, but I can share the list with you later.
Okay. Thank you, Pedro.